Have you seen gas prices around here in LA? It's $7 a gallon almost.
Well, that's always been the case here. Nationwide, it came down about $1.35, and it's still down over $1.
Well, that was President Biden trying to explain away gasoline prices and oil prices. The average price for a gallon of regular gas today, $3.90 a gallon. That is 61 cents higher than just a year ago. Biden making the comments at an L.A. taco shop where he ordered $4.50 quesadillas. Joining me right now is Nebraska Congressman, House Ways and Means Committee senior member and House Trade Subcommittee Republican leader Adrian Smith. Congressman, it's good to see you.
Great to be here.
Thanks very much. It feels like Joe Biden has a tin ear to all of this. Like he doesn't acknowledge what's going on and what is the #1 issue for the American people. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. I'd suggest that he get out across America, but apparently he has, and he still doesn't get it. It's a problem.
He's trying to talk to Hispanics as they move toward the GOP, it appears. Congressman, Biden made the stop on the same day the September Consumer Price Index came in, showing inflation was up 8.2% year over year. Assess the situation from your standpoint on House Ways and Means in terms of what this has done and what this means. Will you be able to stop any of this bad policy should you and your colleagues take the majority in November?
Absolutely. There are many ways we need to stop it, whether it's the 87,000 new IRS agents that will be targeting small businesses and taxpayers at all levels, whether it's the spending and basically the gasoline that's been poured on the fire of inflation. We need to stop that. We need to reduce spending. We need to be smarter about this and reduce regulations. And there are many opportunities, hopefully, come January to do that.
So just to be clear, you say you can potentially stop the $80 billion, which the president wants to earmark to the IRS to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. The president wants 166,000 IRS agents versus, just for comparison's sake, 15,000 border agents, which is absolutely incredible to me. How will you specifically stop that?
Well, there are different options. I think defunding it is one thing, but Leader McCarthy has already said that the first vote we will take is actually the bill that I've already introduced to repeal, to undo what the Congress has done, the current Democratic majority of more than doubling the number of IRS personnel. I think that approach is obviously dangerous, but we've got a lot of other things we need to do in addition to that.
We've been talking for many months on this program about the fact that all of the money from the COVID relief package has not been fully allocated just yet. Jason Smith, the ranking member on the Budget Committee, came on the show and told me there are states that are still getting hundreds of millions of dollars. Talk to us a little about that and why that is one of the pressures keeping inflation elevated.
Well, when you look at the restrictions, Chuck Schumer led the way on telling local governments that they can't use any of these payments to reduce taxes, and so a lot of these dollars are parked. So when you already see what's been done, and that it's caused inflation with federal spending, taxpayer dollars, and the fact that there's still all these dollars parked at local governments around the country, that should make a lot of folks nervous.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of these predictions I never bought into, that inflation has peaked, because the money's still flowing. Too many dollars chasing too few goods. I want to get your take on foreign policy as well, because Saudi Arabia has confirmed in a statement overnight that Biden did attempt to coerce the kingdom to postpone the OPEC plus oil production cuts until after the midterm elections. This is so misleading for the American people, Congressman. Your thoughts on the president going hat in hand to Saudi Arabia, begging them to not cut production, and then actually trying to coerce them to, okay, you're going to cut production, do it after the midterm elections, so that people would not understand what was really going on.
When you see what the president has done with energy alone, canceling the pipeline, going to Venezuela, asking Venezuela, I should say, for relief as well, and now it looks like Saudi Arabia, the fact that the president has canceled domestic production and then gone to other countries asking basically for more, I think that's terrible, not to mention the strategic oil reserve, that he would tap into that for political reasons far more than actual strategic and economic reasons.
And that's when this becomes a national security threat, because
Absolutely.
we are talking about the strategic oil reserve down to levels not seen since 1984. And so we're supposed to look at that as a crisis and an emergency stockpile. And yet he's selling it just because he wants prices at a certain level before the midterm elections. By the way, he did the same thing with the rail unions. He came out and he did a whole press conference telling us that he has a tentative deal with the unions. And I wasn't buying it at all, because I never heard from the unions. And I thought, why am I only hearing from Joe Biden and not the unions? Sure enough, the Washington Post this week reported that 2 of the unions have already rejected what he's talking about. And what he's talking about is a 24% raise for the rail union workers. So my question to you is, do you expect these folks to go on strike after the election, the midterm elections? And if so, what would that do to the economic story right now?
It would be horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible, because it's so pervasive across the country. You know, and I have major rail presence in my district as well. And I think, you know, folks want to avoid the strike. I hope that we can, because to consumers and to our economy, it would be very painful.
But isn't it even as painful to see the commander-in-chief making up stories about a tentative deal, making up stories that that OPEC is not going to cut production, all in the face of politics, just to make sure nothing happens within the next 28 days?
Well, the president is quite a storyteller these days, and especially when he stands out there and you know, dismisses inflation. And yet this economy is cruel, absolutely cruel, to the middle class and folks who can afford it the least.
Yeah, all right. Congressman, we're going to be watching the fate of your bill that you've introduced to stop the 87,000 IRS agents. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you. Great to
We
be here.
appreciate it. Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Adrian Smith joining us.